Do you think Metallica defined 80s metal? Well, beneath the surface, 5 bands were shredding harder, playing faster, and writing riffs so intense they made Master of Puppets sound tame. These aren't myths, they're metal legends history forgot. And if you think that you've heard it all, you're dead wrong. Otherwise, prove me wrong in the comments. But before we unleash forgotten titans of true metal, smash that subscribe button like it owes you money. Let's resurrect the 5 bands that out-metaled Metallica. Starting with number 5, Watchtower, the math metal wizards from Texas. It's 1985, and while Metallica is getting famous with simple thrash riffs, a band in Austin, Texas is creating music so complex that it makes your head spin. Meet Watchtower, the band that turned metal into a science experiment. These guys didn't just play fast, they played impossibly fast, while switching time signatures every few seconds. Their album, Energetic Disassembly, sounds like someone fed a computer every jazz album ever made and then told it to play thrash metal. Here's the crazy part, their bass player, Doug Kieser, actually auditioned for Metallica after Cliff Burton died. Can you imagine how different metal history would be if Watchtower's bass wizard had joined the biggest metal band in the world? But here's why Watchtower did it better than Metallica: technical skill. While James Hetfield was playing power chords, Watchtower was creating musical puzzles that took years to figure out. Their guitarist, Ron Jarzombek, could play solos that sounded like laser beams having a conversation. Their drummer, Rick Kolaluka, hit the drums so fast and so precisely that other drummers would watch him play and just give up. We're talking double bass drumming that made Lars Ulrich look like he was playing in slow motion. The sad truth? Watchtower was too smart for their own good. Radio stations didn't know what to do with songs that changed tempo 5 times in 2 minutes. MTV couldn't figure out how to make a music video for a song that sounded like controlled chaos. But wait until you hear about our next band, as they almost stole Metallica's singer before they even got famous. We're talking about number 4, Armored Saint, the band that almost stole James Hetfield's job. Here's a story that will blow your mind. In 1984, Lars Ulrich personally called up John Bush, the singer of Armored Saint, and asked him to replace James Hetfield and Metallica. Yeah, you heard that right. Metallica almost had a completely different frontman. And hey, if that already shocked you, then hit like and subscribe because Metal History Rabbit Hole only gets deeper from here. John Bush said no thanks. He was loyal to his band Armored Saint. But man, imagine how different metal would sound today if he said yes. Armored Saint formed in Los Angeles in 1982, and they were everything a metal band should be. Heavy riffs, soaring vocals, and songs that made you want to punch the air and headbang until your neck hurt. Their album, March of the Saint, came out the same year as Metallica's Kill 'Em All. But here's the thing, Armored Saint's riffs were catchier, their choruses were bigger, and John Bush could actually sing. Like, really sing. Not just growl and shout, but hit high notes that would make Rob Halford jealous. 2 words, emotional depth. While Metallica was angry and fast, Armored Saint wrote songs that grabbed your heart and squeezed it. Their song, Can You Deliver, had more melody in one chorus than most metal bands put in entire albums. Plus, they could play live without making mistakes. Every show was tight, powerful, and real. No backing tracks, no fixing things in the studio later. Just pure metal delivered straight to your face. The tragedy is that their record label didn't know how to market them. They were too heavy for rock radio, but too melodic for underground metal scene. So they got stuck in the middle, while Metallica ran past them to superstardom. Speaking of bands that were too good for mainstream, wait until you meet the Swiss band that scared even the metalheads. Talk about number 3, Celtic Frost, the scary Swiss band that invented extreme metal. If Metallica gave you nightmares, Celtic Frost would have given you therapy pills. These guys from Switzerland didn't just play heavy metal, they created something darker, weirder, and more terrifying than anything coming out of America. Tom Gabriel Fischer and Martin Eric Ain formed Celtic Frost in 1984, and their first album, Morbid Tales, sounded like it was recorded in a haunted castle. We're talking about riffs so heavy they could crush cars, vocals that sounded like a demon reading poetry, and drums that hit like thunder during a storm. But here's where Celtic Frost got really crazy. They didn't just want to be heavy, they wanted to be art. Their album Into the Pandemonium had opera singers, church choirs, and even covers of goth rock songs. They hired the guy who designed the alien from the Alien movies to do their album covers. I mean, can you imagine Metallica doing any of that? James Hetfield singing with an opera singer? Lars Ulrich playing drums while a church choir sang in the background? Never gonna happen. Celtic Frost did metal better than Metallica because they had the gut to be weird. They took risks that would have gotten other bands laughed off stage, and somehow, it all worked. Their songs were beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Kurt Cobain from Nirvana had their album To Megatherion in his van. Dave Grohl invited Tom Fisher to guest on his projects. These guys influenced everyone, from death metal bands to grunge rockers. The problem? They were too ahead of their time. American metal fans in the 1980s wanted simple, fast, and angry. Celtic Frost gave them complex, slow, and deeply disturbing. It would take another decade before the world caught on to what they were doing. But if you think that Celtic Frost was ambitious, wait until you hear about the band that only played one show but still became legends. We're of course talking about number 2, Warlord, the fantasy metal band that only played one show. Now here's the most bizarre story in metal history. Warlord wrote some of the most epic metal songs ever recorded, influenced hundreds of bands, and became underground legends, all while only playing one real concert. And that concert? It was an empty theater just to film a video. Formed in LA around 1980 by Bill Samus and Mark Zonder, Warlord had one mission: create metal that felt like a fantasy movie soundtrack. Think Lord of the Rings with soaring vocals and crushing riffs. Their albums, And the Cannons of Destruction Have Begun, sounded like an army marching into war. The solos soar like eagles, and the lyrics tell stories of heroes and ancient battles. So how did Warlord do metal better than Metallica? Imagination. While Metallica focused on real-world anger, Warlord built fantasy worlds. Lucifer's Hammer isn't just a song, it's a 5-minute adventure with one of the heaviest soundtracks ever written. Their riffs were more melodic than anything Metallica had. Their vocals were more powerful. Their concepts were bigger than anything on Ride the Lightning. Other bands are still trying to copy what Warlord did over 30 years ago. Their downfall? Singers. They kept losing vocalists. Every time they found someone good, he left. Without a steady lineup, they couldn't tour or grow their fan base, and eventually they faded away. But their legacy didn't. Every power metal band writing about dragons and epic battles owes something to Warlord. They proved that metal could be more than just rage. It could be pure fantasy. Now are you ready for the band that should have ruled the 80s? The true pioneers of epic progressive metal before Metallica even found their sound? Talking about number 1, Fate's Warning, the progressive metal gods who started it all. Here's the band that really did it better than Metallica, and it's not even close. Fate's Warning from Connecticut didn't just play metal, they invented an entire new style that bands are still copying to this day. While Metallica was hammering out simple thrash riffs, Fate's Warning was creating musical journeys that lasted 10 minutes and took you to other worlds. Their album, Awaken the Guardian from 1986, is what happens when metal meets pure genius. John Arch's vocals on this album will give you chills. He doesn't just sing, he tells epic stories that paint pictures in your mind. The guitar work by Jim Matthews is so complex and beautiful that guitar teachers still use it to show students what's possible. But here's the crazy part. Awaken the Guardian actually made it into the Billboard charts. That means regular people, not just metalheads, were buying this incredibly complex music. Meanwhile, Metallica was getting famous with much simpler songs. Fate's Warning did metal better than Metallica because they never dumbed it down. Every song was a masterpiece of composition. Every riff was carefully crafted. Every vocal line was chosen for maximum emotional impact. The songs had time changes that would make math teachers dizzy. They had quiet acoustic parts that suddenly exploded into crushing metal. They wrote lyrics about fantasy and philosophy that actually made you think. The real tragedy is that Fate's Warning was too smart for the mainstream music world. Radio programmers couldn't figure out how to play songs that changed tempos 5 times and had no simple choruses. MTV didn't know how to make their videos for 10-minute epics about guardian spirits and mythical quests. So while Metallica got the fame and fortune, Fate's Warning got the respect of every musician who heard them. They became the band that other bands studied to learn how to write better songs. Were these bands truly better at metal than Metallica, or are we just rewriting history? Let me know in the comments. Share it with your friends, and if that riled you up, wait till you hear which 70 rock bands people claimed were better than Led Zeppelin. So hit subscribe so you don't miss more content just like this.